My name is Joshua Perkins, B-Boy Text. I've been dancing for 15 years and I rep AOD, Angels of Death, here in Salt Lake City. Breaking appeals to me because, I made this realization that it's about who's the most creative and not who's the most athletic. So before I was dancing, I was playing soccer, I was doing a lot of skating, and that's something, both of those things are definitely the most athletic person is usually the better person, the more spins, the longer and faster you can run. When I started dancing, I made this realization that it really came down to who was the most creative. The most creative person was going to be the better person, and once I realized that, it was really appealing to me. So when I first started dancing, the dancers I looked up to the most, let's see, this was 1999, would be Easy Rock. Easy Rock is still someone I look up to. He's kind of like my perfect b-boy that I would look at. Also Flowmaster, Remind. I was really into Iron Monkey, Crumbs, Vietnam. These were people in the late 90s that were like my go-to guys that I wanted to look like. So when I first got into the Utah scene, it's hard to describe the scene because I wasn't really aware of it, or I wasn't even aware of the idea of a scene. So my introduction to the Utah scene was I started dancing in Logan, and we would drive down to Ogden because somehow I heard about this place called Club Aztec, and I heard that b-boys would go there, once a week. I can't remember, it's like a Tuesday or a Thursday. But I would go there, and I met a handful of local b-boys there, and then from there, they would say, oh, there's a practice at this other spot, or there's a battle at this other spot. And so, the scene, my introduction to the scene was just meeting random people here and there and seeing what it was like. But it was really, I remember it being really intimidating, and everyone seeming like they were so raw and so b-boy, and it being kind of a scary thing at the time for me. So my first battle that I ever had, that I can remember, was at Club Aztec, and my friend Dave and I had showed up there just to chill. I had no plans to dance because I was going to be a little chicken and sit in the back and just hang out. And I met, some of the first b-boys out of Logan that I ever met were Corey, Cubano, this kid Pon, this kid Victor, and then this other kid whose name was Nick. And they were all in a crew together. And so we're at Club Aztec, and Critter, Brad, Moses, and I think somebody else had showed up and wanted to battle these guys. Just they had heard about them, and they were gonna come up and like call them out, all cool, like, and battle them. So one of the guys from Corey's crew didn't want to do it, so he was like, "Hey, you want to battle? Get in this." And I was like, I don't know. And so they talked me into doing it, and it was super crazy at the time and super stressful because I just didn't want to be whack and pull these guys down. But that was one of the first battle experiences I can remember. Another first would be the first time really getting down in a cypher, would be at a battle at Club Access. So this dude tries to throw this battle at this club. Club owner doesn't know about it, comes in, there's 200, spectators and b-boys in there to watch this thing. He shuts it down, and then everyone stays and dances, and there's an upstairs section that's all carpeted, and there's this like spotlight over carpet, and it's this tiny cypher, where, it's like 5 feet across, and so it's impossibly small. But I remember just going in there really quick and getting down, trying to do a freeze, falling, and just rolling, rolling on my side out of the cypher. So AOD as a crew, we actually started in the early 2000s. I think officially AOD around 2003, 2004. Before that, we were a crew called Floor Gorillas. And the main members of Floor Gorillas would have been myself, Eric, Mig, Pyro, and Ali. We had just met Ali at that time. So me, Eric, Mig, and Pyro would come to Up Rock and practice all the time. And so naturally we just kind of came together as a crew. And then we met Ali, and then he was coming there. So the 5 of us, became the first members of Floor Gorillas. Nobody liked that name. It was just kind of like like I said, there were a lot of gorilla names, and there was like Massive Monkeys, Battle Monkeys, Killer Gorillas, and then I think there was another. So we were like, we'll be Floor Gorillas because that sounds way cool. And and raw for that time. So eventually, Pyro and I were watching the movie Dogma, and the two Angels of Death in it were Bartleby and Loki, and we're like, yo, it'd be tight. Let's enter a 2-on-2 as Bartleby and Loki, and we'll enter as Angels of Death. And so, we found out that there was a B-girl named Loki already. There's a DJ in Salt Lake named Loki. Bartleby, neither one of us wanted to be. And so, that didn't happen, but we talked about entering as Angels of Death, and so our other crewmates were like, yo, that's all right, let's kind of stick with that. And Angels of Death had kind of a cool meaning too, because when we were traveling out of state, we're from Utah, and everyone would ask if we were Mormon or thought that we were super religious, and so the idea of being like Angels of Death ended up kind of being something kind of cool, because it kind of really went against what people thought of us at the time. So that's kind of how the crew name stuck and came about. Motivations to get better. So, obviously, when you first start out, your motivation to get better is just you want to learn as much as possible, and it's like this fear of being whack. Like, I never wanted to be whack. I didn't ever want to go to a jam and have everyone be like, oh wow, that guy is awful. And so what motivated me to get better at the time was just so I could not be whack, so I could be better and do better. Other dancers in the scene would motivate me to be better, so you'd go somewhere and you'd be like, oh, that guy, or I saw that guy at the last battle and I don't want to do worse than him at the next battle. And so, the desire to progress constantly is always like motivation for me to get better. And progression could be, it doesn't have to be like learning a harder move, it could just be as long as I feel like I'm progressing as a dancer, that's motivation to get better. So one of the first battles was with this kid Moses, and Moses was pretty good at the time. He used to dance at this place called Extreme, and he had kind of like a style similar to what I was trying to do. So a lot of footwork, very like that flow master kind of flavor of b-boying. And so whenever I would see Moses, we were always kind of battling. We would battle a few times, and I'd never be able to beat him because he was, he'd been dancing a couple years longer than me. But Moses was definitely someone that I had a rivalry with. And I think it was kind of that rivalry where I was trying to get better, and then he was kind of aware that I was getting better, and so he would try to get better so that I would not overtake him. So we were good friends, so we had a healthy rivalry over that. The other rivalry would be with someone like Joaquin. So Rockham was someone that we all wanted to beat, and so Joaquin was my rival, but I probably wasn't his rival because everyone was trying to beat Joaquin at the time. So over the last few years, if you were to look at the scene 10 to 12 years ago, it's way different than it is now. Everyone gets along a lot better now. So I would say 12 years ago, you had a lot of dancers in the scene, but they hung out in their own pockets, and they would come out and battle each other, and then we wouldn't really see each other, and we didn't really get along in that way. The battles were way raw, and the scene was pretty awesome at that time. But nowadays it's nice in a different way because everyone is pretty supportive. They're aggressive and they're raw and they're trying to come up during the battles, but they are pretty good about supporting each other and caring about the scene and building the community. So that's something that's really nice that we have now that we didn't have before. Going forward, there's still work to do. The dancers still need to get better. We still need to help grow the scene. I think 12 years ago, people were much more aware of hip-hop in a larger scale. So a lot of the b-boys would write or MC, or we'd go to hip-hop shows, or they, would pop or do other things. Nowadays, a lot of the b-boys in the scene just break, and they're not aware of like what it takes to be a DJ or a writer or an MC and these other things. So going forward, I would like to see more of that, more b-boys being aware of the other aspects of hip-hop and having a more complete view of that, because I do think it makes you a better dancer if you can do that. And then a personal goal is to have a b-boy come out of Utah that can battle at an international level, that is bred in Utah, stays in Utah, and makes it their home base, but travels internationally.
Make your body move.